Today, I would like to show you how you can massively increase the speed of your AI agents that you built within n8n. And I have just built this extremely simple flow where just using a chat trigger and then an AI agent. When I jump into the AI agent, there are no special settings whatsoever. I haven't even defined a system prompt. This is not today's topic, but I actually would like to show you how you can get the fastest responses that you can imagine within an LLM agent. Now, when we are talking about speed, then obviously the first thing that we think about is to look for the fastest LLM itself, right? And if I jump onto this site right here, which is called artificialanalysis.ai, then you can see a couple of leaderboards, right, which will give you indications which LLM would be the most suitable in that regard. And they have three different columns. They have a lot of information, very detailed, but the thing which is going to be the most interesting for us is going to be the speed column, as you can see right here. And if you take a look at those names that are mentioned, at all the LLMs that are mentioned right here, I'm just going to click on this and it's going to lead us to the full view. Then you can see that there are a couple of names that might sound familiar. Now, literally yesterday, or the day before yesterday, actually, NVIDIA released this model right here, and you can see that this massively dominates this table, as you can see. But still, we also have other models that are quite interesting, right? And the reason for looking for an alternative might be that this is a mix of both proprietary models and open weight models, right? And open weight models might also be interesting competitors in that regard. Now, if we scroll up a little, then you have this dedicated table right here, which is comparing proprietary models to open weight models. And this is now in reference to its intelligence, so it's not has nothing to do with their speed yet. But this is still an interesting comparison in and of itself, just to see, how they compare in general to each other. And you can see that by looking at the blue columns right here, that there are valuable, considerations that are might be interesting for your specific use case that you might want to take a look at, right? For instance, we have this GLM 5 right here, which is a product of ZAI, and we also have Kimi K2.5, which is from Moonshot AI, and these are extremely strong competitors to the proprietary models from those more famous names on the left-hand side. So it's definitely worth considering. We're looking for an open weight model. And when looking at the speed graphs again, then you can see that the most dominant model in regards to speed itself is actually, as I've mentioned, this very new model, which is called Nemotron 3 from NVIDIA, right? And then we also have GPT-OSS, right? And then we have GPT-OSS 120B. So there are a lot of names. Now, this is from Google itself. This is a proprietary model. We have Groq with K, and these are obviously proprietary models. But in regards to speed, they even, beat the proprietary model. So it is definitely worth considering alternatives to this. Now, obviously, if you get fast answers, but they are still wrong, then this also is not helpful. But if we take a look into the intelligence versus speed column right here, then you can see that there are also quite interesting results. We have this quadrant right here, the green one, which is the most interesting one, the most attractive quadrant, as you can see. And in regards to, the best of both worlds, there is Groq 4 currently, which is the most interesting in that regard. But we have on the x-axis right here, you can see that in regards to speed, there is this Nemotron model. And then also in regards to competition regarding speed itself, we also have GPT-OSS, right? And even faster than this is GPT-OSS 20B. So these are interesting competitors also in regards to the intelligence versus speed comparison. Now, benchmarks and leaderboards are fine, but at the end of the day, it has to fit to your specific use case. So if I jump back into n8n and I am looking for a specific model that I want to interact with just to see how it compares, then if I click on chat model, then you can have the selection, right, between all these different providers. However, and I've talked about this before, what you can also do is use OpenRouter, and this will actually give you access to all the LLMs that are currently out there, even the open source open weight models. And I have shown you this before. So if I'm looking for OpenRouter, then this is positioning itself as the unified interface for LLMs. And this basically gives you, when I click on models right here, access to 644 models at the current time of this recording. And you only would need the API key for OpenRouter, and then you are basically able to access each and every one of those LLMs within your agent and within n8n. So this is what I have done. So I'm going to jump back into n8n, and I'm going to connect this OpenRouter interface, and then I am going to choose the model that I want to interact with. And if I was looking for Nemotron, for instance, which is the most recent one, as we have just seen, right? And I think it was called Nemotron 3, and then Super 120B. This is the currently, at least in regards to the claims from the leaderboards, the fastest model that you currently have access to, and you can use it. And let's actually test this. So I'm going to rename this to Nemotron so that we just know what we are dealing with currently. And I'm going to ask it to a topic like this one. So I'm just going to say, write an article about 300 to 500 words about the current state of AI in SMEs. So this is a very simple task, but it will give us an impression of how well the model is going to perform. And I'm going to send this, and now it's working, and we'll see how long this takes. All right, and now it's finished, and it took about 23 seconds to write this article. So let's take a quick look at this. So this does look relatively decent. I'm not going to count the words right now, but this is interesting. So it took about 23 seconds. So still, I mean, at the end of the day, we could argue if this is actually that much faster, because depending on the leaderboards right here, this is supposed to be, at least, I don't know, maybe like 70% faster than the next model, right? So let's actually take a look at the next one. And I'm going back to n8n. I'm going to replace the model within this one to one of the also most popular ones in regards to speed, and then also in regards to having a good speed intelligence relation. And the one that I'm going to use is OSS 120B. So let's take a look how this performs. So I'm just going to rename this, and this is GPT OSS 120B. And let's repeat the same question. And this, as a matter of fact, now took only 17 seconds, right? So you could argue if this is still a fair comparison, but it also looks as if it was a little more text, a little more words than 300 to 500, or at least more than the previous one. So you could argue if this is actually true what they're claiming, but probably there's still some setup things we need to take care of. All right, so as you can see, this very much depends on your use case, right? And obviously also on your connection and everything. However, there is one thing and one way how you can definitely massively increase the speed even more than this, right? So depending on your specific use case, yes, it might make sense to have a look at the leaderboards, to take a look and to test them, depending on what you're looking for. But there's actually one approach that we can also take to massively increase the speed, which is that we are going to take a look at Groq. And this is Groq with a Q, not with a K. They are not related. But what this is not in a dedicated LLM that you can choose from a variety of other LLMs. This is not what it is. However, what they are doing is that they have actually built a new type of chip, a new type of processing unit, if you will, because and you can see this on the right-hand side, the Groq LPU, because if you probably know, right, that all LLMs currently, at least, are working on GPUs, right? So graphical processing units. And if you're a gamer, then you definitely know what that is. So we are not taking, we're not using CPUs, but we are using GPUs because they are able to provide the best speed in regards to the LLMs that we are working with. What Groq now did, and they have existed for I don't know how many months or even probably years, but what they have done is to build a new type of chip, actually, which is specialized on LLMs themselves, right? And this is the reason why they are called LPUs, because if I click on this, then you can see that these are actually now so-called language processing unit, right? So they have built a new type of hardware, if you will, which is specialized on speed itself, to be able to provide the best experience for the LLMs, And obviously this begs, first of all, the question, which LLMs are we able to use? And then also in regards to the cost. And I am going to jump on the pricing here, as you can see. And this is giving me, first of all, an overview of what models we have access to, first of all, and then second of all, what their pricing is. And this is definitely interesting because, as you can see, we have access to a couple of more or less famous names that we have also seen already in these charts right here. So if I take a look at this list, then you can see that I see GPT OSS 20B, I see GPT OSS 120B, and these are all the candidates that we can also see from this list right here, right? So not even are the models themselves already quite fast, but now they are even faster because of the fact that they are now hosted on a specific server, on a specific hardware that even increases their speed, and then you also have Kimi, you have Llama, Now, this is not a very long list that they are offering, to be fair. You can't access all of the models that are out there, and obviously you can't access proprietary models, so this is some caveat that we need to be aware of. So these are all open weight models, because Groq is going to take care of this very fact that they are basically hosting these models on their machines, and we are able to access them. But you can't do this with proprietary models, obviously, for licensing reasons. And but still, this is the reason why I showed you these tables and these graphs before, because it might be interesting to take a look at the vaster landscape of LLMs, of open weight LLMs that are out there, and they still might satisfy your needs. And if that's the case, and you are even willing to use Groq for this, then you can even increase the speed some more, right? And if you also take a look at the pricing, right, then you can see in regards to, I'm in the output token column right here, and these are per million tokens, then this will cost you 30 cents in the 20B model, for instance, from GPT or from OpenAI, and the 120B would cost you 60 cents, right? And the output tokens from ChatGPT, for instance, from GPT 5.2 or whatever, they are about $14, so this is a massive difference between these types of models. And if you take a look at these columns right here, then you can see that the most expensive one is only $3, Now, let's actually compare this and see if they are actually able to deliver. So I am back within n8n, and I'm going to cut the connection to this OpenRouter model, and I'm going to open this. And here you can actually see that Groq has a dedicated model node within n8n that we are able to access and use. So I'm going to click on this, and this is just the same as always. This is connected to my Groq account using their according credentials, and now I actually have access to the models that they have listed right here. So I have the freedom again to choose the model that I find the most appropriate. Now I'm going to look for GPT OSS 120B again, and now I'm actually going to give it the same task as before. So let's see how this performs. So I'm going back into my chat window right here. I'm just going to repeat the question. I'm going to send it, and let's just see what happens. And now it's already done, and you can see that this took 4.7 seconds, for the same task. And if we take a look at the amount of words and the amount of text that it produced, then it is very, very comparable in regards to, just the amount of output that it has generated with the other models that we tried before. Now, obviously, we would need to read through this and have a look at this if this is even the quality that we, want to have. But at the end of the day, this would also be something that we need to do with every model, right? Now, one more thing that I would also like to show you, if I am going to the Groq docs, as you can see, then I am now within the docs themselves, and I've jumped into the model section. And there's a new, I wouldn't call it model, but there's a new feature that they are offering, which is called Groq Compound. And this is extremely interesting, because what this does, this is not a model itself, but if I click on this, then you can see that this is basically integrating both GPT OSS 120B and also the Llama 4 models into a dedicated system, which is called Groq Compound. And this also not only it chooses itself which model would be the best for your specific application, but it also offers you certain capabilities, including web search. And if you know that it can be challenging, to equip your agent with web search, at least at the time of this recording, this is going to change in the next couple of months, but still, this is giving you direct access to a web search feature. And this is extremely interesting, because most of the models that you are dealing with in n8n don't do this, right? You always have to look for a third-party provider which offer this, so something like SERP API or Tavili you're probably familiar with. Now, OpenAI has recently offered this, that they also give web access within their so-called responses API. If you want to take a look at this, feel free to do this. But Compound also does this, right? And if I jump into n8n, and into the Groq model right here, then you can see if I look for Compound, then this is actually giving me this very selection. So it acts basically like a model itself, but it is like the best of both worlds, including those capabilities that I have just mentioned right here, right? All right, so this was just a very quick overview, and just to give you some food for thought, if you're looking at, models like these that might already suit your needs or be sufficient for your needs, and you are willing to take a look and use open weight models for your specific use case, then it might be interesting that, take a look at Groq or something like, these other models, so that you can basically get the best of both worlds. All right, this is already it for today. Thanks a lot for your attention. Hope to see you next time, and bye.